It's making my guitar push my amps more, so they're breaking up more. And it just makes for a nice fat tone. It's like you're just boosting your amps. It'll be great for solos and stuff. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Lightfoot Effects. This is part 2 of our Fractal guide on how to get a basic patch going. I won't get into it too much. If you're new to this video, check out the one before it. This is part 2. What we're essentially doing is we're going through the Fractal FM9 and setting up a bass patch that can be used generically for a gig. In the last video, we've already set up the amps and we've got them in stereo, and I also showed you how to do them in mono as well. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into setting up overdrives and then your volume pedal, and then I will show how to assign effects to foot switches. This video might take a little while, so instead of me talking a lot, let's just jump right into it. Okay, if you see on my screen here, I have our preset that we pulled up from the last video, left right where it was for demo. Here's where we left off. This is our bass tone. So what we'll do is we're going to jump in on how to set up a few things first. First, we'll do the volume pedal, because that one's easy. If you look on the Fractal here, I have the volume pedal here, and this is the Fractal, the EV2, I believe. It's their minier one. And all you need is one TRS cable. Make sure it's TRS, not a TS cable. So a TRS stands for tip ring sleeve. So that cable's in here. And then I have it connected over here into the input called pedal 1. This is the pedal 1 slot. You can put it in pedal 2 or pedal 3, any of them, it doesn't matter if you're using the others for something else. So once this is connected to pedal 1, we have to set it up in the Fractal software. So here's our preset. We'll just throw in a volume pedal. It'll be the equivalent of a volume pedal. I just picked the first one. You can change how the taper is, like certain tapers are going to be how does the volume pedal respond. Yeah, I just leave it on the default of log, but you have these other options which just change how the sweep of the volume is. And then all we need to do is right click it, and under source where it says none, click that, and then we need to choose pedal 1 right here. That's where we have it. Now if I move my volume down and up, you'll see on the screen that it's also going down and up. And then I can change all these other pretty cool things, but I'm just going to leave them all at default. But you have a lot of advanced options if you want to really make your volume pedal do crazy stuff. So we'll close that. We will hit save. Once again, to get into that, I right-clicked volume. You'll see it has a yellow dot now. That means I have it assigned to do something. You'll see how it changes now when I just move it. When I'm moving my volume pedal physically to do that. So we can do swells now. So if I play a chord and I push the volume pedal, I can do swells, or I can use it to mute myself just from the volume pedal. So yeah, we'll save it. So that's it for the volume pedal. That's set up. Actually, I am going to put it kind of in the middle here. So I just drag and dropped it. It's still gonna work. And then I'm going to throw in an overdrive. I like my overdrive pedals before my volume pedal because I like to do swells, and when you do a swell with your overdrive on and the volume pedals after, you get a lot more energy and it just sounds a lot more full. It's just the way I like it. If you prefer, you can put your volume pedal before your overdrive and it just gets you a different type of swell. I've tried them both. I just prefer having it after. You'll have to mess around with it. So we'll pick one of these on the line because this line is our cable. I want to drop it in the middle of our cable. So we'll click, I'm just going to pick this one, right click, go to drive, and we'll choose drive 1. Now by default, it's set to the shimmer drive, which is a very good drive actually, but let's start with a clone. It's one that everyone's familiar with. We're just going to make a good stage 1 overdrive. If you need help looking through the overdrives, you can type in Fractal overdrive lists or overdrives, and then here it is. They have a wiki on the drive block, and this is where you can find all the overdrives and their names. It's a great resource. So if I'm looking for clone, I can Control F and I can type in the word clone, and I'm trying to get down to it. There's a few references. So this one, here's the actual clone. They call it the clone Chiron. And then you can see it's based off the gold one. Let's look for the clone Chiron. It's probably under the K's. There it is, clone Chiron. And here we are. If I just push my volume pedal up, we should have a clone. And this is the default sound. Way more output than I needed. One thing before we get started, if you're running your rig in mono, which we did in the last video as well, just keep the left cable plugged in still. And this will apply whether you're in stereo or mono. Everything we do in this video, it won't matter if you're mono or stereo. I'm gonna leave us in stereo with 2 amps, but you would follow all these same processes and it'll still be mono. Even if you're mono, you can leave this area down here. You can still leave this as L plus R, it won't matter. The way that the pedals are is you have your mix, which is kind of if you want to, how much do you want to blend it in with your dry signal? Is what that is my understanding. I leave that at 100% like a normal overdrive. The level is your actual volume. This is going to be your volume. Balance is for, you know, panning, which we don't want to do. So let's turn the volume down a bit and then we'll try it. So this is the equivalent of me having a clone and I have the gain at 5 or at noon, and then I have the volume set really low. So normally how I would run a clone is I like it as a first stage, so I'm going to drop the gain a lot and I'm going to use it more as a boost. So since I dropped the gain, it should be quieter. And if I double click it to turn it off, we can hear the clean tone. And here it is on. So we've lost output now. So I'm going to bring the level back up. I'm trying to get it around the same output. So we'll bring the gain down a little more. It's pushing it pretty hard. So I'm going to tweak with this a little bit until I get them pretty where I like it. I think right there is good enough. I was trying to find a good balance where I could have the treble be pretty equal to with it off, and then I wanted a good, pretty much the same volume, but just with a little more gain. That's about good enough for me right now, but you'll see the drives on these are a lot different than the ones in real life. Like, I only have the level set to 1.48, and then I have the gain pretty low also. It's just the way that the pedals are on the Fractal. Just use your ears more than anything. We'll save that. So that will be our first overdrive. And then what we'll do for our second one is get something more higher gain, and we'll go to B. So these are channels. Right now we're just setting up different drives, and you can use one drive block and you can do up to 4 different overdrives. And I'll explain how this works in a little bit. So let's go to channel B, and this will be our second overdrive. And I actually like the shimmer drive. The shimmer drive is an amp that I believe Fractal Audio made. I think it's their own original overdrive. We can check. Yeah, so right here it's a custom model. And then they just say it's a silicon shimmer drive. It's a purpose to boost amps, which are based on amps. Yeah, it's kind of a boosty overdrive, I guess. But let's set this one up as a higher gain. So if we want to switch from our clone to our higher gain pedal, we can do that with the shimmer drive. So we'll dial that one in. Right away, it's just blasting. So I'm going to bring the volume down. I'm going to start by bringing the gain down. I'm going to leave the tone in the middle a little. We'll try it out. what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it heavier, but kind of stay in the same frequency range as best I can. So that's why I cut the tone knob down, because I felt like it's a little brighter. So I'm trying to make it match the Klon, and then I'm trying to make the Klon match more the clean tones. So I'm trying to keep the frequencies as similar as I can with just more gain. And then this one's going to be less gain. And then turning it off, we're totally clean. Then turning it back on with the Klon. And then the shimmer. I'm trying to get it just driven enough where single notes are driven. And I'm bringing the tone knob down so it's not too harsh. I want it to be more, you know, not super bright. That's enough for drives. If you guys want more, if you're following along, feel free to add more. Feel free to go into channel, you know, C and channel D, and just start clicking the type button and pick other overdrives to mess with. You got the Timmy, tube screamers, there's all sorts. For this video, we'll just stick with the two. Another thing I want to do at the end of my overdrives is I want to throw in a boost. So kind of like my real pedal board. Let's go into new, and we're gonna pick, I was reading a lot online of what different people like to do to emulate a clean boost. Some, you know, you can use anything with a volume pedal really. For me, what I found is a lot of people like to use the filter block, just so it gives you another block in case you want to do some filter type stuff like cut frequencies. We're just going to use it as a volume boost. So what we're going to do with the filter block to make this into a clean boost is we're going to mess with the level. I just want to increase the level enough right here as if it were just a boost pedal, and I want it to just give me a volume bump from off to on. So here's off, and then here it is when it's on. It's making my guitar push my amps more, so they're breaking up more, and it just makes for a nice fat tone. It's like you're just boosting your amps. It'll be great for solos and stuff. Depending how you play, if you wanted to, you could just put a whole chain of filters with boosts, or just do boost pedals, and you can make each foot pedal boost it harder if you just like clean, raw breakup of amps. That's what all this boost is doing. The boost is pushing the amps harder, so they're breaking up quicker and getting more distorted. And it's just such a wonderful tone, and it feels amazing compared to normal overdrives. So we're gonna mix them. So what I like to do is I like to turn on my overdrive, and then I might go to my heavy one we just made, our shimmer. And then what I might do is I will then turn on the boost to push it even harder. So the overdrive's going into the boost, and then the boost is boosting the overdrive and hitting the amps even harder. So now we'll hear it. And even for like single notes. And then when I turn off the boost, and then here it is on, I'd probably go maybe a tad bit higher. That's good enough for me. We'll turn these off. I'm just double clicking them to turn them off, and we'll hit save. I think we got a good chain set up. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna map these to the Fractal so we can activate them with buttons. So let's get into how we do that. We're gonna click this button here called FC Edit. So click FC Edit, and this is the one that I made for my current setup. I called it Live. So the way the Fractal works is you have these 8 layouts, and if you haven't changed them, they actually have names like layout 6, 7. You guys might have ones that have okay, so when you click on the the layouts button, these are all named something, which is based on the factory. Like this one here says live, and that's because I named it. But if you click these other buttons, mine just says layout 5, 6, 7, 8. Yours probably says something like effects. I don't even remember the names anymore. Loops, looper, all these are pre-named. I went ahead and I cleared them out, and that's the way Fractal actually wants you to do it. They just have these preset to give you an idea of what you can do with this, but you don't need to leave them at their defaults. You can wipe all these out, so that's what I did. I just cleaned them all out, and I built ones for my existing set. So we'll start new. I'm gonna click 5, and I would say for me, 1 is the one that I was comfortable deleting out of here. So I don't remember what 1 was called. It might have been looper or something, but I felt comfortable deleting it because I knew I wouldn't use that workflow. So you can pick 1 if you want to do that. I'm gonna pick 5 because I don't want to override my old one. And what this is doing is it's like a template of how you want it to work in your workflow. And you can make different templates. You can make up to 8 of them, 9 I think even. They recommend not messing with the master layout. So I'm just gonna hit cancel. I won't mess with it, but let's go to 5. Like I said, you can do 1, 4, 8, or 5. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a preset, kind of like how I do it. If you've seen my other Fractal video where I do a review of the unit, and you watch me walk through how I have it set up, we're gonna set it up like that. So if you wanna take a pause here and watch that other before you feel comfortable changing this, you can see how I have it running. And if you want it to set up that way, that's what we're gonna do here. This is set up like my FM9. This show as button, it needs to say FM9. That's why these are grayed out, because these are really the only buttons we have available on the FM9. And what we will do is we'll click the first one. You might already have stuff set up on here. And I'm trying to remember an easy way to get rid, right here. Before you begin, click clear layout. Just hit that, hit OK. That'll make it look like mine. We'll do it together. So yours should look like this now, where these are all empty. If not, don't worry about it. You can still click one, and this is how we're going to assign the effect. So we're going to click, I want my overdrive to be this button. So physically on my unit, I want this button right here. I'm going to change this to say effect, and then I'm going to say, what does this do? This is going to be a channel select. The reason why is, remember when we made our overdrive pedal, we chose channel A for the clon and channel B for the shimmer drive. So me setting this up to be a channel selector is what's letting me switch between those without having 2 overdrives or 3 overdrive blocks. I only have 1 overdrive block, and I can switch between them all. So it saves space and CPU power. So the effect, we want to pick drive 1. And then we want to select A, which is our clon. And then what do I want to do when it's a second press? I'm going to choose smart bypass. The reason we want it to be on smart bypass is, I'll explain it in a minute, but put it on that for now. And now we'll hit save. And if you look over here, you'll see it's labeled drive 1A. And when I click it, if I minimize FC edit, when I click it off, the drive's off on the screen. And then when it's on, it's on. I wanted to brighten that up a little bit because it felt darker to me that time. But all right, we'll turn it off. Go back to FC edit. And now we will click the next button. I want this one to be the second overdrive. I want it to be the shimmer. So we're gonna go to unassigned. We're gonna switch it to effect. And we're gonna do channel select, not bypass. Bypass just does the whole block, but we wanna specify the channel. And we wanna do drive 1. And instead we're gonna do channel B. And then on the second press, we wanna do smart bypass. And then hit save. And we'll close that. So now, the reason I did smart bypass is it lets you go back and forth between the drives, and then when you click either one, it turns them off. So if I had these set to just off instead, which I'll show you, I believe, if I remember correctly, yeah, look at that. I can't actually turn them off, and that's something to do with them being grouped as the same overdrive, so there's no way to actually turn them off. I'm stuck having them on, and maybe you want it that way. If you want a preset where you can't turn your drives off, that way works. I like to be able to turn them off though, so I want smart bypass, meaning I want to bypass the whole effect even though I'm specifying channels. It just works that way. So we'll hit save. And now these are back to how I want them. Where I can either switch between them and it keeps them on, or I can turn them off entirely. So here's the clon, and here's the shimmer. Cool. So we'll go back here. We can name them. So if we want to give them a name, there's something down here called mini display label. We could do we can have it, these are pre-filled, so it's just specifying name plus channel, but we could also do custom, which is what I want. I want to call this one shimmer, or whatever you want. You could call it drive 2, or we can call it stage 2, and then hit save. And now you'll see on here it says stage 2, meaning my stage 2 drive, or I could call it shimmer, and then we'll hit save. And then we'll go back to this one here and we'll change it to custom, and we'll call it clon, or you can call it stage 1. Maybe you just want the stages and then that helps you. So that's my first drive and then second. All right. So now we got clon and we've got shimmer. Not to be confused with a reverb. It's not a shimmer reverb, it's just an overdrive. So let's throw in the boost. So we'll go back to FC Edit, we'll click. First we need to look at what do we do for our boost. So our boost is going to be our filter. So it's a filter 1, channel A. So let's go back to FC Edit, click this. We're going to go down to same thing. This is going to be an effect. And it is, we'll just do bypass this time. And we need to go filter 1. The reason I'm doing bypass is because I don't have multiple channels being used. I just only care about keeping it on channel A and turning it on or off. So I'm going to hit save. And I also want to give it a custom name. I want to name it boost and save. And then, oh, we can pick colors too. So I like my boost to be white because that's what I associate with it. So I'm going to save. And then I like my overdrives to be red because red seems like an overdrive color. So I'm clicking the blocks and I'm hitting the red button. And I'm hitting save. Another thing to throw in here just for fun, let's get it going, is our tuner. If you want to set up the tuner, I like to have it on this block way up in the right corner, that button. And here's what we'll do. We'll save it so we don't take up a whole button. There's something here called hold. You can program things to be done when you hold it instead of tap it. And you can do both. So to save this slot for later, we'll still assign it as the tuner, or you can make one of these the tuner if you want to go to hold, but I'll do it up here. We're going to do category, and this is where we're picking what do we want it to do, and it's going to be a utility. And then if we go under here, it's already set tuner. We can also do tap tempo, all sorts of other weird things. So let's just do tuner. So I'm just telling this, when I hold this button down, activate the tuner. We'll hit save. If you come over here and look, and if I hold this down, there it is, there's our tuner. And the cool thing is, since I have our volume pedal built, I can turn it down and I can still tune. So I can tune quietly, and then when I'm ready I can push my volume pedal back up and I come back in and then hit the button again to go back. So I got my tuner, I hold it down and then I just tap it to get out. So that's good to have in there. So here we go, we got our boosts and our shimmer. And so let's check it out. We'll push our volume pedal down. And here, let's say I want the clon, I want it, and then maybe I want to boost the clon. I'll hit that button. And then maybe I want to boost, keep the boost on, but maybe I want the shimmer. I'll click that. Or maybe I just want to play. This is my clean tone. Maybe I just want the boost. So, and the cool thing is these are grouped together. So I can keep these on and I can mix and match these however I want. This is the way that I like to set up my rig. I don't like to do the per presets. Because I like to be spontaneous and I like to create things on the fly. So on the fly, I might go, oh, I want low gain with a boost, or I might go, oh, I want high gain with a boost. There's another way we could do this. You can map things in groups. So like when you hit one button, everything changes. And those are called scenes. And we won't get into that yet, but we can, we'll dive into it soon. All right, so that concludes our video on overdrives. So we touched overdrives, we've touched the boost, and then we've messed with the volume pedal. So I'm thinking for our next video, we will do modulation and pitch, and then it'll probably be, depending how long that video goes, we'll probably do another one, which will be reverb and delay. And then after that, that'll be it. The pedal board will be done. So maybe 2 more videos. We won't just be doing Fractal stuff, guys. I'm just trying to get through the Fractal stuff because I committed to it, so we got to get them done. And then after these videos, we'll go back to the real pedal board and play around, do some more reviews and stuff. So thank you for taking the time to watch this. Part 3 will be out sometime soon after this video, and we'll see you next time.